This is all for a place at Wembley, by the way, but that may or may not happen too. So this is 2020 after all, and it's still football, and so for all the uncertainty about whether or not, Wembley does happen and whether or not that match goes ahead, I'm just going to enjoy this moment of football, Mark Stallard. I hope you listening at home can as well. The two teams are now making their way out onto the pitch to no applause. Harrogate from the family stand away to our right-hand side, because at the moment, to keep the teams apart until they get out on the pitch, Harrogate are using the changing rooms in the family stands that are occasionally used by the playing squad when it comes to training in the week, and Notts County are in the main changing rooms spread across the two changing rooms. So the subs are in the away team changing rooms, and the starting 11 are in the usual home dressing room. So Notts have made their way out onto the pitch in their new home kits, black and white stripes, black shorts and white socks. Harrogate are in a dark blue, all dark blue kit. The Notts 11 for you this evening has Sam Slocum in goal, Richard Brinley at right back, Adam Chickson at left, with Sam Graham and Connell Rawlinson in the middle of defence. In midfield, it's Michael Doyle, Ruben Rodriguez, Jake Reeves and Cal Robertson. Up top, Wes Thomas is partnered by Kyle Wootton. On the bench, Luke Pilling, Dion Kelly-Evans, Alex Lacey, Damien McCrory, NCO Baldwin and Elisha Sam. Mark Stallard, the former Notts striker, is alongside me. And Stall, there is so much uncertainty. As I say, I'm just going to try and enjoy the occasion, try to enjoy the fact that Notts County are playing football, because with all the uncertainty of the announcements today, who knows when this will come about again. Is that the right approach? And how do the players try and put all of that distraction out of their mind and just focus on a game of football?
Yeah, well, I think that's it, isn't it? You've got to try and focus on the football, what's happened today, the announcement, what's gone before it. You can't affect that. That will unfold in the fullness of time. What the players have got to do, and ourselves, concentrate on these 90 minutes. Both teams out there ready. We're not far from hearing that kick-off. Yes, strange circumstances as the lights go out in the main stand here, and we're just waiting for Cal Roberts to get the game underway. But it's Notts have got to focus on this 90 minutes. The winner goes to Wembley. Yeah, and you can hear the referee blows his whistle, and every single player on the pitch takes a knee to a man in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. The referee now blows his whistle again. Everybody back up to their feet. A few shouts and cheers of encouragement only from the coaching staffs and some of the players out there on the pitch. And we are underway here at Meadow Lane in this FA Trophy semi-final between Notts County and Harrogate. It feels like this is the only team we play nowadays, as the ball is put out by Michael Doyle, who is sporting a fresh lockdown trim. And it's out for Harrogate throwing on the left-hand side. If you needed reminding, which I'm sure you don't, but just in case, 51 days ago these two sides met at an empty Wembley Stadium, and Notts County basically didn't show up that day. Certainly didn't show up in the first half, and were beaten by 3-1. Since then, Harrogate have gone on to the Football League and made a decent start in that Football League as well. They find themselves third in the table after the opening two games, a 4-0 win at Southend and then a 2-2 draw against Walsall at Doncaster's Keepmoat Stadium at the weekend. That because Harrogate are still having to bring their stadium up to Football League standards, and so for the time being are playing at the Keepmoat. It is Harrogate that are in possession. Out on the far side of the pitch, pristine Meadow Lane surface, as you'd imagine. It's a wonderfully warm evening as well for this stage of September. At those temperatures up into the 20s today, you can still feel some of that heat in this empty stadium this evening, with the ball thudding off of the goalkeeper from Harrogate's boots and echoing all around this 20,000-seater stadium. And there it goes again as he crashes it against Kyle Wootton, which deflects and goes out for a throw-in on this near side. Neil Ardley has swapped the ice cooler that I spoke about just before kick-off for a chair this season, whilst Greg Abbott stands the opposite side of the dugout with his arms folding in front of him away to our right-hand side. The referee this evening, Will Finney. The Harrogate team, only two changes from the one that beat Notts at Wembley 5 or 6 weeks ago, and that's the goalkeeper Joe Cracknell, because the Notts supporting goalkeeper who played that day, James Belshaw for Harrogate, has injured his thumb, I believe, and that's why he's out at the moment, hasn't played yet for Harrogate. Here they come down the right hand side, cross into the penalty area, aimed at Thompson, but cut out before it could reach the number 7, who was such a thorn in the Notts side at Wembley at the start of August.
The other player in the Harrogate team, incidentally, who didn't play that day at Wembley is Brendan Kearney, who's 27 years old and is playing out on the left-hand side for the Town, or the Sulphurites as they're also known this evening. Notts playing the ball forward, 2.5 minutes on the clock. Notts 0, Harrogate 0. Looking at the early stages, Mark Stone.
Yeah, no, really just team by teams feeling each other out, trying to set the stall out. Neither team really able to put anything together, just taking their time, passing it around at the back at the moment. Harrogate just looking at, as we suspected before the game, as has been done in pre-season for Notts, the line-up. They have put that diamond in midfield, or when Harrogate have got the ball, it drops into a more conventional 4-3-1-2, if you like. Ruben Rodriguez picking up the left-hand side, Jake Reeves on the right-hand side of the middle, with Michael O'Doyle, the anchor, if you like, in midfield, and Cal Roberts, that little 10 slot in behind Wes Thomas and Carl Whitton up front.
There's the pacey Burrell down the left-hand side, puts his foot on the ball near the edge of that Notts penalty area and turns back in along the midfield. Ball fizzed across by Kerry out to the right-hand side to Fallowfield. Fallowfield finds Thompson. Thompson back out onto that right-hand side. Ball in at the near post and cut out by Sam Graham behind for the first corner. And I guess if you were trying to separate the two sides in these early stages, Mark Stallard, it's that because Harrogate have already started their season, there seems to be a bit more pace and a bit more fluency around their game in comparison to Notts.
Yeah, absolutely. And the two times they've had the ball and they broke down the right-hand side, which was exactly in the player final where they caused a majority of the problems for Notts. Fallowfield getting forward from that right-back spot, really in advanced positions.
Here comes the corner, fizzed in along the goal line. In fact, Sam Slocum has to punch it off of his goal line as he was pinned in there inside his 6-yard box. Ball comes back in again. It's headed away once more, this time by the Welshman Conor Rawlinson, lifted back over the top again. Keeper calls for it on benefit, I guess, if you're looking for a silver line, and I'm not sure there is one. Of the fact that there aren't fans in here is you can hear a little bit of what the players are saying and the managers are saying as well. The Harrogate manager Simon Weaver is stood on the edge of his technical area, whilst Neil Ardley and Greg Abbott are likewise away to their right-hand side. Greg turns away with a bit of frustration, two of them having a bit of a conversation, and now Neil turns away from Greg and has a word with some of the substitutes that are sat down and some of the coaching staff in that area of the ground. Of course, the Notts substitutes aren't actually sat in the bench, they're having a social distance, and as a result of that, they're up in behind and in the stand, all sat apart as the ball comes long and over the top and up towards that Notts penalty area once again. Jack Muldoon, who's already scored 3 goals this season in the Football League, the FA Trophy and the League Cup, as it has been in this crowded September month for the Sulphurites, wins that header, but it goes straight up over the top and behind for a goal kick. 5 gone, Notts 0, Harrogate Town 0. Just a quick reminder that at 8 o'clock this evening, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson is going to be making an announcement about the new guidelines and restrictions that you've heard about today. You will be able to hear that on BBC Radio Nottingham on FM. So if you're listening on FM, you will hear from Boris at 8 o'clock, and then it'll be back to us here at Meadow Lane. If you want to just continue to listen to the football, then you have to be listening to us on DAB Digital Radio or online. Sam Graham cuts out another ball into the Notts penalty area and then clears it away. It's now with Kyle Wootton. Wootton to Thomas on the right-hand side, 5 yards inside of the Harrogate half. And not the best of link-up play, that, between the two front men, as Thomas plays a rather aimless ball down the right-hand side. That I honestly don't think he ever thought Kyle Wootton was going to get onto, and so it's just gone out as if playing for field position in rugby down the right-hand side, about 5 or 6 yards up the touchline from the corner flag.
Yeah, certainly Harrogate have had the bulk of possession in the early stage of this game, just over 6 minutes gone. You're right what you say, but we've got to bear in mind Notts are 2 or 3 weeks behind in terms of preparation for the season, so you would expect Harrogate to be that little bit sharper in possession and on the ball, and that's the way it's panned out in the opening moments.
It's Fallowfield on the right-hand side being closed down by Wootton, plays it up towards the halfway line. It's with Thompson, who I've already mentioned, he was so good at Wembley that day. He stands out. Jack Muldoon as well that day at Wembley, and Muldoon's gone on to have a good start to the season as well, Star. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we've said, you know, all throughout, there's not a massive difference between the National League and League Two, and Harrogate, although they've only played 2 league games, have certainly shown them they're not going to be afraid of it. They've got some quality. They've managed to keep hold of all their players pretty much, and like I say, they've got 4 points from the first 6 available to them. A decent start for Simon Weaver's team in the league.
7 minutes gone here, still goalless between Notts and Harrogate. Michael Doyle is the skipper for the Magpies, and Josh Falkingham is the captain for Harrogate. Notts have a free kick, middle of their own half, and Sam Slocum in an almost, I don't know, toothpaste green, if you will, goalkeeping kit, comes forwards and knocks it long down the right-hand side. Header won by Burrell. Bit of head tennis going on as Reeves then gets the ball on the turf, takes a touch out of his feet. I don't think by intention, and now Brindley flies into a tackle. That's a lovely touch from Jake Reeves, who rather acrobatically managed to control it with one touch and then volley it with another. I don't think the goalkeeper was ever that much concerned about it, as it was always going to angle wide of his left-hand post, but decent little bit of control and a nice attempt early on, and Notts have got an attempt, if not one on target, with 8 minutes gone, still 0-0.
Yeah, the first attempt on goal from either team, really, and an optimistic one at that. But Jake Reeves, as you say, really good touch. The ball fired at him 30 yards out on the angle. He had to bring it down first time with his left foot, and as it dropped, fancies his chances with his right foot. Just cut across the ball, never threatening the goal. Away to our right, but good early effort.
Here we go, though. Down the left-hand side goes Rodriguez. He was played through by Wood, and he's going to run at his man. He tries it, it deflects his cross into the feet of Cal Roberts, and Harrogate will know all about him. Now back to Doyle on the left-hand side. Down the left goes Chickson. He cuts back and tries to buy some space from his man. Not able to do so, so finds his Irish skipper once more. Chickson then tries to nutmeg the Harrogate player on the far touchline, but he's dispossessed, and the Town clear it up the field. Notts try to move it back in the opposite direction as quickly as they possibly can, and that's going to be Notts' sort of game this season, isn't it? Neat, intricate build-up play, yes, at times, but occasionally they'll get it up to a Kyle Wootton or Elisha Sam, and we've already seen Elisha Sam's a big, tall, sort of 6'5", gangly striker, and then he'll look for those runners off of him, your Rodriguez's, your Roberts, and people like that. Yeah,
they've got what they built on last season, Neil Lardner. We know they like to play, and at times last season, I think people were critical of them overplaying at times, but they have got that option to go from back to front with a Kyle Wootton there. He's so invaluable to what this Notts team do. They can go forward in one ball, one pass, and turn defence into attack if teams opt to operate a high press, which Harrogate are doing so far today. They're going man for man, trying to press Notts high up the pitch. So sometimes you've just got to bypass that and not take too many chances.
Town back in possession once more, but Notts trying to hurry and harry them in possession as it goes back to Cracknell, the goalkeeper. Distributes it well out to the right-hand side, and here come the Town, here come the Football League outfit with a cross into that Notts penalty area. It's headed away this time by Brindley, and Harrogate back in possession once more in this kind of royal blue away kit of theirs. It's with Burrell, the former Mansfield man, switches the ball across the middle of the midfield and out to the right-hand side. It's with Fallowfield, first time cross is deep, too deep for everybody in the end, and Brindley will watch that one just trot behind for a goal kick. No sort of ball boys, ball girls really in attendance this evening for obvious reasons. What there are little cones dotted around the pitch, and there are replacement balls on those, and then the few members of support staff that are in Meadow Lane this evening have got the antibacterial spray, and they, once the ball goes out of play, they go across and give it a spray, give it a wipe, and put it back on one of those cones so that it's there at a convenient location, if you will, for the players, depending on where the ball goes out. 11 minutes on the clock, still 0-0. This is the semi-final of the FA Trophy between Notts County and Harrogate. A place in a Wembley final is on the line. When that will happen, we're not too sure, but a place in Wembley doesn't come around all that often, so an important game nonetheless, despite all of the uncertainty. And a reminder, you'll be able to hear on FM on BBC Radio Nottingham in the next 5 minutes or so a Prime Ministerial address from Downing Street. And as I say, if you want to hear that, FM is the place on Radio Nottingham. If you'd like to stay with the football, you need to be listening on DAB Digital Radio or online. And once that address is finished, then you'll hear us back on your radio once more here from Meadow Lane. We'll link you back up with the football commentary. Notts trying to squeeze the ball away down the left-hand side. Can't quite get out, and Harrogate have it once more. They play it forwards, up over the top. It's headed away by Graham. Reeves plays it in behind his Notts teammate, Michael Doyle. Loses it, and now Harrogate lose possession in the process, give away a free kick that Notts will have from the middle of their own half. I guess it's as to be expected so far, Mark Stallard, in the way that Notts have gone about their business, still trying to find their stride.
Yeah, it's been scrappy. Both teams. Yes, Harrogate look a little bit sharper. They've been better with the use of the ball in the opening 12 minutes, but Notts would have swapped this for the day at Wembley 51 days ago, I'm sure, because by then I think Harrogate were already 1-up and had two good chances, and Notts were under the pump a little bit, but you know, it's a scrappy game tonight. What we've seen so far, not just trying to get a few passes together, they're struggling to get hold of the ball at this moment in time. And just saw a bit of a mix-up between Jake Reeves, Michael Doyle, you know, a little bit of getting to know each other, trying to get familiar with your new teammates, and that will happen in pre-season games.
Will Smith on the ball for Harrogate, goes back to the goalkeeper, plays a quick 1-2 there. And good pressure from Kyle Wootton meant that Smith wasn't able to get out. I think he was looking for a bit of support perhaps from Wes Thomas as well, but Thomas was keeping his position so that they couldn't sneak it past him and escape down the left-hand side. Ruben Rodriguez tries to get away from his man. Played in Holland in the Dutch second division last season, and a decent season as well, double figures in goals and assists. Interesting to see how he adapts to life in English football.
Yeah, I think that's always the thing, isn't it? You're always excited when you bring a foreign player in from abroad, but that one concern you've always got is how are they going to adapt to English-type football, playing as regularly as they do in the National League.
Rawlinson wins a header on the edge of his own penalty area. Brindley there too. Now to Reeves. Got the ponytail tied back in a tight bun as he clears it away. It comes straight back towards him once more. Harrogate in possession, but now Roberts nicks it off him on the right-hand side. Just tried to stab it in line towards Kyle Wootton, possibly looking for the return 1-2. It wasn't coming because the ball to Wootton wasn't good enough. Shame, because he might have even beaten his man and been off to the races down that right-hand side if he'd have kept hold of it. But Doyle's got it. Now to Rodriguez and back to Roberts once more. Tries to play it back in towards the feet of the Portuguese number 20, but it's just in behind him, and Notts now recycle it out onto the left-hand side with Chickson, who spoke so positively about joining Notts County, about falling back in love with the game and all that sort of stuff, having been at MK Dons and Brighton earlier on in his career. Doyle then tried to find the feet of Wes Thomas on the edge of the Harrogate penalty area, but he's lost it, and here come Harrogate on the counter-attack in the opposite direction. It's Muldoon who hits it, and it deflects up over the top of the crossbar and goes behind for a corner kick. Muldoon so often the danger man for Harrogate with 3 goals already this season. He nearly got a 4th.
Yeah, that's the closest we've had to breaking the deadlock here. Jack Muldoon allowed to run a long way from the middle of the park, 40, 50 yards with the ball, got it onto his right foot, 22, 23 yards out from the Notts goal, opted to let fly, hit it with his right foot low, got a deflection over and out for this corner to Harrogate.
Corner kick about to be taken here by Harrogate. We're about to cross to Downing Street in the next few moments. That will be on FM on BBC Radio Nottingham. The ball comes in and it's headed up over the top by Aaron Martin and behind for a goal kick. So if you would like to listen to the Prime Ministerial address from Boris Johnson live from Downing Street, that will be available for you on BBC Radio Nottingham on FM. If you want to stay with us, then it's DAB and online. Just pause there for a moment as Boris Johnson has commenced his address at Downing Street, whereas here it is still 0-0 between Notts County and Harrogate at Meadow Lane in the FA Trophy semi-final, place at Wembley on the line. We've played 16 minutes and the closest that either side has come was just a few moments ago when Jack Muldoon ran almost the length of the pitch with the ball, fired from the edge of that Notts penalty area and saw a deflection go up over the top of the crossbar and behind for a corner kick. Harrogate with a couple of corners so far. Notts struggling to establish themselves too much in that Harrogate half, although in the last few moments just getting onto possession now with Jake Reeves. He's just pushed it too far in front of him, and that will run out for a throw-in to Harrogate on the far side next to the corner flag. This is Notts' first match for 51 days. In pre-season, they've beaten the likes of Telford last Saturday by 3-1, Alfreton 2-1 and Ilkeston 2-0. On Saturday, they're going to play York here. Behind closed doors now. The hope was that there would be up to 1,000 Notts season ticket holders here in attendance for what would have been a pilot event to see if they could trial getting fans back into a stadium, but that today has been scrapped as the newest restrictions and regulations have been put into place by the government. Notts have a free kick just inside the Harrogate half, and What do Notts need to do, if anything, Mark Stalla, to try and get themselves into this game a little bit more?
Yeah, they've just got to try and find a way of recycling the ball. They've got to get a period of possession. With playing a diamond, it's the downside to that is obviously you're a little bit narrow. You're looking at your fullbacks to then get pushed on in advanced situations to create the width for them. But to do that, you've got to have possession to allow them fullbacks to get forward up the pitch. So far, Notts have struggled stringing 3 or 4 passes together. Harrogate have pressed well, hassled them, and they're not allowing Notts to, when the ball goes out for a dead ball kick for Sam Slocum, it's noticeable that Harrogate are pressing forward, almost going man for man, and not allowing Notts to play out from the back.
Michael Doyle on the ball, number 8 on his back, captain's armband on his right bicep. Plays a sweeping pass from right to left up to Rodriguez with a good touch. He gets the ball crossed into the penalty area. It's deflected away by Smith's knees. And now the skipper for Harrogate, Falkingham, will try and play it forwards. He plays an inadvertent 1-2, gets it back, and the Town remain in possession. Falkingham into the feet of Thompson, who will turn and try to play a Hollywood ball of his own from right to left, up and long and over the top, and Kiernan will chase after it. But the man who gets his foot on the ball instead is the Harrogate substitute, once of this parish, John Stead. Scored 50 goals for Notts in his 4 years at Meadow Lane. Of course, ended unhappily with the relegation out of the Football League. What a time to get relegated, Stow. Brindley with the throw-in, looking for Kyle Wootton, who's got 2 Harrogate players on his back. As a bat flies past me, and Conor Rawlinson keeps hold of the ball, plays it out towards Chickson on the left-hand side, goes back to the keeper Slocum. He's under immediate pressure by Martin, but good contact from Slocum's left boot, sees the ball up towards the halfway line, but again Harrogate pick it up. They're winning those first headers and probably the second balls at the moment as well. That's good, in between the lines. It's up towards Cal Roberts. He skips past one, then gets a little drag back and a kick from Will Smith, and Roberts has now gone down. Looks to be in a little bit of pain there. Only a kick though, so fingers crossed that's all it is. Yeah,
hopefully nothing too serious. That's exactly what you want with a diamond, that front man of the diamond, the number 10, Cal Roberts, who's playing the furthest forward just behind Kyle Wootton and Wes Thomas, as we say, gets the ball on the half turn and can get at the heart of the defence. That's exactly what he did there, and just as he drew the tackle, just got clipped, and the referee gave him the free kick. Thankfully he's back up on his feet.
Well, Notts have it again, approaching the edge of that Harrogate penalty area, but it's cleared away now with Michael Doyle, who takes no chances as he thunders through and clears the ball from his own half deep into that Harrogate half. Harrogate keeper now knocks it long up into this night sky over Meadow Lane, up to the halfway line. Conor Rawlinson flicks it to Sam Graham, back at Meadow Lane. Played 10 games at the start of last season. Or is it this season? I get confused now. Let's go with last season for now. His last appearance was just over a year ago on the 14th of September. That was better though from Notts as they play it out from the middle of the midfield to the right hand side. It's with Cal Roberts, who cuts in on his left foot, trying to do maybe a little bit too much, not aware of the players around him. On the other hand, Muldoon then controls it and almost mimics just what Cal Roberts did. Didn't know who the players were around him, maybe tried to do too much, be too cute with the ball, and both sides concede possession in sort of quick succession. It's with Harrogate away to my right hand side, where Burrell has managed to shepherd the ball out for a Harrogate throw. Played nearly 21 minutes here at Meadow Lane. Now, not the same without you, of course, supporters not being here this evening. Just take the opportunity quickly to wish Rebecca Stokes a happy 19th birthday this weekend. So happy birthday to you. I'm sure you would have been here if you could have been here this evening. Meanwhile, the referee's just going to have a quick word with, I think it might be Jake Reeves who may be calling over here, or is it going to be Richard Brindley? Yeah, Brindley's going to get called over for the maybe a little bit of cynical tugging back of a Harrogate man just to stop the counter-attack. It's usually a yellow card, but I think the referee, Will Finney, is just going to give him a telling off. No, he's gone for the yellow card. Maybe I'm out of practice in reading the referee's body language. It's usually a yellow, as I say, and he goes into the booking as the first man this evening to do so. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was just a little cynical tug of the shirt. He just got the wrong side of Richard Brindley in making that run. Just gave the Harrogate man a tug near the halfway line, spotted by the referee. It's one of them, there's a melee of players around you, you're sort of hoping the ref doesn't
quite see it, and despite Richard Brindley jogging 30 yards away from him, he called him back and put him in the book first name.
It fooled me though, you know, his distance, his proximity. Ball forward from the resulting free kick, nodded down but cleared away, hacked away by Kyle Wootton back there, showing his value in that he's a target in the opponent's penalty area, but also he's a good defensive option in his own 18-yard box as well. Long ball up over the top from Harrogate, meanwhile, has gone behind, and it'll be another goal kick for Notts. The rules on this game this evening: no extra time, straight to penalties if the two sides can't be separated at the end of 90, and with all the fun and drama that could entail. And as far as, given that this is last season's competition but almost being played this season, as I break off because Jake Reeves is going commando near the edge of his own penalty area and trying to take on the entire Harrogate team. And I don't mean commando like he's not wearing underwear. I mean he's just going a little bit rogue there and trying to dribble past everybody like he's playing FIFA. Fortunately, he's got away with it and it's gone out for a goal kick. So, you know, now we've got away from that distraction. I'll go back to what I was saying. You're allowed to play 6 new signings in this game this evening, signings that have been made, I guess, in the last 5 weeks since the playoff final, and one of those signings counts this evening as Cal Roberts, because he wouldn't have been allowed to have played if the season had come to a natural conclusion, because he'd already turned out for Blythe in the FA Trophy last season. He'd have been cup-tied, as it were, so he counts as one of the 6 new signings who is allowed to play this evening for Notts. He's on the ball now. He quickly shifts it to Rodriguez, who on the left-hand side tries to play it from left to right. It's always a difficult thing to do. He's trying to hit Brindley in stride, and he was maybe 3 or 4 yards in front of him, and it's gone out for a goal. A throw-in.
Yeah, them two players linked up just a couple of minutes ago. Well, just trying to do the same thing from the left-hand side of the diamond. Ruben Rodriguez looking for the crossfield ball into the run of Richard Brindley. Unfortunately, couldn't find it, too far ahead of him. The ball zips out off his slightly greasy Meadow Lane surface, and out for a throw into Harrogate. But that's obviously something they're looking to do, you know, to create that width that isn't lacking, or that isn't natural, should I say, in that diamond formation by switching the play.
If you were listening to the Prime Ministerial address from Downing Street with Boris Johnson, welcome back. You've not missed a huge amount. It's still 0-0 between Notts County and Harrogate. We've played 24 minutes, and the Magpies have got a throw-in down the right-hand side that Jake Reeves has gone across to take. From this distance, looks a little bit like Jim O'Brien. I'm guarantee that I'm going to get the two confused at some point should the season go ahead. O'Brien, meanwhile, not playing this evening because he failed a late fitness test. Meanwhile, Jimmy Knowles not in the squad this evening. There's another new signing for you. He's joined on loan from Mansfield just due to selection. And it's gone behind for a Harrogate goal kick. A couple of signings have been announced this evening. Across the river at the City Ground, Forest of Sime, Republic of Ireland international Harry Arter from Bournemouth. That's a 3-year deal, and that midfielder has signed an undisclosed, signed for an undisclosed fee, I should say. 25 on the clock. Notts, of course, hoping that this won't be their last game for the foreseeable. They are still, as things stand, scheduled to go to Dover on October the 3rd. For the opening day of the National League season. There is a board meeting of the National League on Thursday where we will find out a lot more. This is lovely from Rodriguez. Step between 3 players, giving it to Roberts. What can he do? He's tried to stab it to Kyle Wootton and just played it a yard or two to his left, which let Harrogate intercept and clear away. But neat from Rodriguez as Rawlinson is forced back to his goalkeeper, and Slocum shifts it out to Sam Graham, who now has the pitch at his mercy and some options as well as he plays it long and over the top and straight through for a goal kick. 26 gone, 0-0.
Yeah, good early glimpse though for Rodriguez in a tight area inside his own half, unfortunately, but he was under pressure, showed good feet, turning first one way then the other and managing to evade the tackles of 2 Harrogate Town midfield players. So, you know, obviously comfortable with the ball at his feet, as you would sort of expect of a foreign technical player, if you like, player who's been playing at a high standard in Holland. So he'll be an interesting one to watch, but I'm sure Neil Ardley will want Notts to get on the ball more to enable him to do that in the opposition half. Like I say, he's having to work Notts on the back foot predominantly in the opening 26 minutes here.
Brindley wins a header, middle of his own half. Roberts leaves it. Now tries to juggle it, and Reeves tried to get involved as well. A little bit over-eager perhaps at times. It's gone straight back to Harrogate. Here they come down the left-hand side. Ball floated into that Notts penalty area. Well headed away by Graham. It was Brendan Kiernan who was sprinting through the lines there, trying to make it difficult for Notts, and Harrogate back in possession once more in their own half, and they'll look to rebuild once more. Falkingham plays it up towards Thompson, back to Falkingham once more, up through the lines again, finds Muldoon, so often a threat for the Sulphurites. So the ball is switched from right to left, and Warren Burrell sprints forwards to get on the end of it. Now finds Kiernan once more. He's trying to put Richard Brinley on ice. Instead comes back to Kerry, edge of the penalty area. Square now to Falkingham, out to the right-hand side. Another cross into the penalty area, headed away once more, controlled by Cal Roberts. Shows perhaps a lack of composure there, and he hacks it away straight back to a Harrogate player once more. This time it was Connor Hall who scored the second for Harrogate at Wembley against Notts in the playoff final, and well, his effort was speculative at best, as Harrogate and their goalkeeper get the clearance all wrong down the right-hand side, and the ball is pumped into the empty Jimmy Cyril stand that sits opposite us.
Yeah, that's it. You can just tell early on in the early stages, though, Harrogate, their passing's crisper, it's sharper, you know, it's finding a man, the touch is a little bit more solid, it's moved a little bit quicker, not just been a little bit ponderous, a couple of misunderstandings between players. Again, you would expect that for where Notts are in terms of this is sort of in the midst of their pre-season, whereas Harrogate have had a couple of league games. Here
goes Roberts beating a man after he's dispossessed a Harrogate player near the edge of their own penalty area. He's still got it, he's trying to keep the ball, it's like he's got it attached to his toe at times, but in the end 4 blue shirts managed to kind of surround him and almost smoke him out in the end there. And now Notts find themselves with a new threat and a new challenge and a new danger in the form of Muldoon, who approaches the edge of their penalty area, slips it down the right hand side to Thompson, tries to cut it back, and that's gone behind for a third corner of the game. Yeah,
again, good play, accepting the ball on his chest, Muldoon, and getting turned on the halfway line, advancing towards the Notts box and then just slipping it out to the right hand side for Thompson. Thankfully his cross blocked at source, but goes out for another corner to Harrogate. Again, it's Harrogate in the opening 28-29 minutes doing the most of the attacking, but Notts have defended reasonably well up to this point, haven't they? They've, you know, corners, balls into the box, they've headed clear.
Let's hope you haven't cursed that. Here comes the ball into the penalty area. Another good header away, comes out towards Falkingham, hits it, and another block. It's just coming back to me now. I know. It's just coming back to me now. The amount of touches that Sam Graham gets around his own penalty area. He seems he's almost cut from the same cloth as his partner in defence tonight, Connell Rawlinson. He seems to get his head on everything, or a toe on everything. He just seems to always be in the right position at the right time. Here come Harrogate again, though, down the right-hand side. Another ball into that penalty area, up towards the back post, headed away once more, this time by Brinley. But this is probably the best and most sustained spell of pressure that Harrogate have had so far in this first half, as 30 minutes ticks over here at Meadow Lane. It's back to Falkingham once more, to Thompson, edge of that Notts penalty area. He's going to have a go at goal from range. It's a left-footed curling effort. He was trying to pick out the far corner, I'm sure, but he couldn't quite find it, and instead it was a relatively comfortable save for Sam Slocum.
Yeah, but a decent hit, and again, as you say, it's come from a sustained spell of pressure from Harrogate. They're able to keep the ball a lot better than Notts at this moment in time, you know, which means Notts are getting pinned back in their own half. When the ball does go to Sam Slocum from that shot straight at him there, Harrogate are making sure he's not able to roll it out, utilise the centre halves or the fullbacks. If Michael Doyle is dropping deep, then Falkingham or one of the midfield players is pushing on top of him, and Notts are finding it really difficult, and as a result of that, Sam Slocum kicks it out of his hands long, old school type of goalkeeping, and unfortunately goes straight through to Cracknell, and Harrogate are back in possession. So that's a challenge for Notts. You know, they've got to find a way of countering a high press, if you like, and find a way of utilising movement off the ball to get somebody into space, because if you can do that, then you know, you can be in at the opposition's back four, but you've got to move the ball crisply and you've got to pass it accurately.
We've spoken about the defensive performance so far, Stout. What have you made of the players in the more attacking areas of the pitch? Has anybody stood out? Ruben Rodriguez in a couple of occasions, maybe a few flashes?
Yeah, a couple of touches that have looked good, you know, look tidy, but he's been under pressure. We've not seen a lot of Kyle Wood. We've seen more of him in a defensive third, nothing of Wes Thomas. And if truth be told, Cal Roberts is the one who's probably had the most of the ball, but been a bit wasteful with what he's had of it. But again, like I say, that comes from the fact that Notts haven't had a competitive game for 51 days.
Here is Rodriguez, plays it down the left-hand side. That's a good ball to Wootton. Got a bit of time. He's got Smith in front of him. Wootton is going to try and take him on into the penalty area, onto his left foot, gets the ball modelled under his feet, and then tries to smuggle out a shot. Never was going to have any power on it, let alone accuracy, straight to the goalkeeper. Could have thrown his hat on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and we're going to keep harking back to it, but that's Carl Wootton again. Just looked, if that was 8-10 games into a season, you just fancied it, he'd have made his mind up, pulled it onto his right foot and let fly there. As it was, looked in 2 or 3 minds, do I pass it, do I have a shot? And it ended up doing nothing really, and just toe poked it through, and it rolled through into Cracknell's hands in the Harrogate goal. But at least promising signs, Notts attacking down that left-hand side there. Good movement to get Wootton in on the left-hand channel.
Harrogate have it as they sneak it down the right-hand side. That's a good recovery tackle made by Rodriguez on Thompson. It's gone behind for another corner, but Rodriguez was robbed of possession on the edge of his own penalty area by Josh Falkingham, the Harrogate skipper. And so fair play to the Portuguese winger for being able to get back and make such a good tackle, and it was necessary, because otherwise Thompson would have had the freedom of that right-hand side of the penalty area to work his devilish ways. Here he is taking the corner kick out towards the edge of the 6-yard box. The ball is headed up in the air, and Wootton's back there. He's headed the ball in the opposite direction to the one that he intended, behind his own byline. And here is a 5th corner of the first half, of the first 33 minutes to Harrogate. Notts haven't had one yet, which probably gives you a fair indication of how the game's going, if nothing else.
Yeah, it does. I mean, say Kyle Wootton there having to battle with Will Smith so much, he sort of took his eye off the ball and had it behind for this corner. Another
corner kick, this one in the air by Smith. Notts will try to attack the second ball. They've not managed to win it. The ball is bobbling around. Shot goalwards. Brilliant save from Sam Slocum down to his left-hand side. Think it was Connor Hall, the man who had the shot, the big, tall centre half. He turned on the swivel and smacked it. It was going to nestle itself in that bottom corner, but for the brilliant diving save of Sam Slocum away to his left. Here comes another corner into the area. This one headed up over the top by Aaron Martin. Goal kick, time to breathe, have a moment.
It is, but what a fantastic save. Let's not underestimate that from Sam Slocum. Down to his left-hand side, low. It was going in the corner, as you said, hit from on the spin from about 12 yards, level with a penalty spot. And he gets down fantastically well, gives a good firm hand onto it, touches it around the post. That's the first real effort of any note tonight. And Sam Slocum was more than equal to it with a stunning save. And that has kept parity in the scores, because, I'm saying, notwithstanding a lot of pressure at this moment in time, Harrogate would not have, it wouldn't have gone against the run of play if Harrogate had taken the lead there, but for a fantastic save from match number 1.
Through all those bodies as well, to be able to keep an eye on the ball and what those players were doing in there, and the fact that, I'm pretty sure it was Connor Hall, as I said, a lot of bodies in there. He scored the second goal for Harrogate at Wembley. He was looking to get off the mark for this season as well. But yeah, an excellent save from Sam Slocum, who continues to prove his worth in between the sticks. Certainly a goalkeeper who you sense could step up to the Football League again, given the opportunity. There's Burrell now on the left-hand side for Harrogate. Tried to play it forwards and find Muldoon, but Conor Rawlinson shrugged him off with ease. Ball up towards Wootton. That's better. Now lays it off for Rodriguez. Tries to return the favour and play it up over the top, but it's always a difficult pass to make that when it's so straight like that, no real angle to it, and Wootton's trying to bend his run. I guess that was probably a source of great frustration for you, balls like that in your career.
Yeah, if I ever made a run, yeah, I definitely want it in my path. Yeah, I think what you notice the difference for me in this, I'll say 35 minutes they've gone, Notts in possession are looking a bit rushed, aren't they? Now, that's credit to Harrogate. I said that's their fitness levels. And
it's what they do as well. They do harry, don't
they did exactly the same at Wembley, didn't they? Didn't give Notts a moment. Whereas Harrogate seem to be able to move the ball a little bit faster, a little bit sharper, and are a little bit crisper in possession. And that's why they're dominating the possession in the attacking third.
There's Thompson on the right-hand side, kind of camped in the Notts half at the moment. Harrogate, and have been for maybe 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. Down the right they go with Thompson, where most of the threat comes from. It's pretty much all down the right-hand side. To Kiernan, turns on the edge of the Notts penalty area, gives it back to Lloyd Kerry, who has been with Harrogate since 2014, back in their amateur part-time days. Down the right they go, cutting in towards the edge of that penalty area. It's with Thompson, who will shoot! And flashes shot just wide. From our angle, it didn't look like it was a long way high and wide of Sam Slocum's top corner. But fortunately for Notts, it is, and it will be a goal kick. 37 minutes on the clock. Match night on BBC Radio Nottingham. Still goalless in the FA Trophy semi-final between Notts County in Harrogate Town.
Yeah, certainly Harrogate knocking at the door, aren't they? George Thompson there, fantastic left-footed effort, struck it well, and we're sort of at 90 degrees from it, so we couldn't see the flight of the path. But from his reaction, that could not have been far past Sam Slocum's right-hand post and into the cop, the empty cop behind his goal at the minute. But yeah, it's all Harrogate at the minute. Notts will do well to try and get a period of possession. You know, keep hold of the buy and switch the play, just buy themselves a little bit of time.
Notts trying to play their way out from the back there. They, as you see so often nowadays, you pin the two centre-halves on the edge of your own 6-yard box from a goal kick and try to draw the opposition on. It's a risky game, it's a risky business when you do that, but Notts just about managed to get out and try and play through that Harrogate team, and maybe it's going to take a bit of a risk like that, because in otherwise sustained spells of possession, Notts haven't really been able to do too much on the very few occasions where they have had possession for a sustained period. So now with Brindley on the right-hand side, 37.5 gone. Into Reeves, turns back inside for Doyle, who'll look to switch it forwards, dinks it up over the top to Wootton, buys a little bit of space from his usually very watchful and closely watched defenders. He plays it out onto the left-hand side. The ball is crossed into the penalty area, headed away once more, but only as far as Richard Brindley. Now to Cal Roberts down the right-hand side. What magic does he have? It's not a bad ball, that into the edge of the 6-yard box of Harrogate, and it's punched away by the goalkeeper, although not all that convincingly. Oh, now the nutmeg from Wootton, plays it along the edge of that 6-yard box, and it was just in behind Thomas, and it'll run out for a throw-in on this near side away to our right. Richard Brindley goes across quickly to take it. That was neat from Kyle Wootton, left the defender for dead.
Yeah, brilliant play. Little nutmeg on the byline and went round the other side, collected his own pass and just fired it across, looking for a Notts player, couldn't pick one out, and it goes all the way across the Harrogate penalty area and out on this near side for a Harrogate throw-in. But good bit of play by Notts, and again that came from switching the play both times. Both fullbacks in the build-up to that, in possession, had touches of the ball, and that's where Notts are going to find possession tonight against this Harrogate team. They've got to get the ball switched. The opposite side is where the space is, and if they can do it quickly enough, then they can capitalise on that space.
39 gone. You're listening to BBC Radio Nottingham. You may be watching us on the Notts County YouTube channel as well, wherever you're watching and listening from. Welcome along, glad that you're with us, wish you were here. Not a great tackle from Jake Reeves, who brings down Brendan Kiernan just inside the Harrogate half. What it does do, though, is it stops any thoughts of a quick Harrogate counter down the left-hand side. As we were saying a few moments ago, Stal, most of it goes down the Harrogate right. It did at Wembley, and it has done so far this evening as well. But that's not to say that they aren't without threats down the left as well. As Conor Rawlinson gets back, he was the voted the Fans Player of the Season for last season, as Notts win a free kick on the far touchline, I think, through the haze on the far side. That was Ruben Rodriguez that went down, and Notts' free kick will be just a few yards inside their own half on that left wing. 40 minutes gone, 5 to go. Probably, given the way that the half has developed, Mark Stallard, Notts would be all right with going in goalless at half time.
Yeah, I don't think Neil Ardley would have any complaints about that. They have been second best in this first half, but they've kept Harrogate down to, you know, no real clear-cut chances. The one fantastic save from Sam Slocum, but other than that, it's been efforts from distance. But yeah, I'm sure you want an improvement. Just if you can, in the intensity of their play, in possession of the ball, it's just been a little bit slow. It's allowed Harrogate to press them. Harrogate haven't given them time on the ball. But this is a good area where Cal Roberts gets the ball.
Certainly is, yeah. Picks it up in the hole in behind the strikers, gets the ball out onto the left-hand side. There's Rodriguez. He takes it past one, tries to beat another. He's still got hold of the ball. Now towards Wes Thomas, getting towards the byline, and Notts have got a first corner of the game. That's good stuff. Rodriguez has certainly got a trick or two when he's in possession, and like Roberts, is difficult to shift off the ball with those nimble feet.
Yeah, he looks comfy in possession, doesn't he? He's drifted past one or two players on occasions in this first half. He looks like that's a forte of his games, that, you know, he can drop a shoulder and maybe leave a player behind. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops. And again, we've got to allow him time to settle in English football.
Absolutely. In-swinging corner from the far side at the Hayden Green family stand end, up towards Rawlinson, who wins the header and then shins the ball in the general direction of the Harrogate 6-yard box. He's not out there for his attacking prowess, is Big Connell, and it's going to be a throw-in instead for Notts that Brindley will take. Looking for an option, and Doyle wants Reeves to move. Reeves gets the ball, gives it to Doyle, and he'll switch it out towards the left-hand side in the direction of Rodriguez, who, after all of those compliments that we were just giving him, he's let the ball run under his studs and it's gone out for a throw.
Yeah, and I was just
I blame you.
Well, I'll take the blame. That's fine. I've got big shoulders. But that's exactly the sort of thing that Notts are going to be looking to do. A quick throw in into Jake Reeves, back to Michael Doyle, and then switch the play. Yeah. Rodriguez just drifting out closer to the touchline. Okay, his touch let him down on that occasion, but that's what you want to do. That's where the space is on the pitch, and get your players, your quality forward players, in space against the defenders and get them taken back towards their own goal. That's, but for a poor touch, Ruben Rodriguez would have been one-on-one with a fullback. That's exactly where you want to get your attacking players.
Free kick for Harrogate. Kyle Wotton's not happy with Will Finney, the referee's decision. Nor was I, if I'm honest. I thought he fell on the ball and just landed and gave himself a sore backside as he did land. But the referee was a whole lot closer than I. And it's rather inconsequential, really, with 2.5 minutes to go at the end of this first half. And the score's still 0-0. Free kick will be taken by Joe Cracknell. Used to be at Bradford. Prior to that was on Hull's books when they were, when he was in the academy. Long ball forward from the man dressed in all grey. Rawlinson meets it with a strong header. Hall is there now as he sees the ball bobble and spin up over his shoulder. That's a neat touch out of his feet from Fallowfield down the right-hand side. Gives it to Thompson inside the area. Another shot goalwards, another save. This time it nearly presented itself to Brennan Kiernan, and Kiernan should have scored, but he's put his effort just wide of Slocum's post. That again sees Harrogate knocking on that Notts door.
Yeah, why couldn't Harrogate have finished like this at Wembley 51 days ago? Crikey me, yeah, Kiernan there should have given Harrogate the lead. It was good play again, good ball out to Fallowfield, who's always an option. Did really well at Wembley, caused all sorts of problems down that right-hand side, and again got the ball into Thompson. A good strike on the angle from the inside right-hand channel, parried away with two firm hands by Sam Slocum, about 10, 11 yards out. There was Kiernan, it came at him sharply, he will say, but he only had to steer it on target. Unfortunately for Notts, got his right foot on it, but put it about 1.5 foot wide of Sam Slocum's right-hand post, which has lived a bit of a charmed life in this first half. But as we are, still 0-0 in the 45th minute.
Notts have a throw-in. 10 yards inside the Harrogate half. Brindley, the man to take it. Referee says going to move on, of which he does. Throws it up towards Wotton, who nods it down to Cal Roberts, and those usual twinkling feet of Cal Roberts just haven't quite been able to work together so far this evening. Not had quite the usual magic on the very few occasions, I should say, that he has had the ball. He's just got it caught underneath his feet a couple of times and maybe struggled to get it out of his feet a little bit, but we all know what he can do.
Absolutely, and on Cal Roberts, I think it's important that we don't start putting too much pressure on him or expectation on him. You know, he did fantastically well when he came in last season, but, you know, let's give him time. Let's can't expect that every single game.
Free kick for Harrogate as we find out 2 minutes have been added on at the end of this first half, and it's taken only a few seconds of those 2 minutes for Harrogate to finally get their breakthrough. It's Will Smith, the man who was sent off against Notts last season, who wins the header from the resulting free kick on the halfway line, and finally Harrogate have the breakthrough in the first few seconds of stoppage time. Notts 0, Harrogate 1. And Neil Ardley's going to have to change his team talk at half-time. Yeah, we thought we'd weathered the storm, didn't we? And you know, it's been all Harrogate in the first half. Let's be honest about it. They've been the better team. But we thought we were going to get through to half-time without conceding. It wasn't to be. The free kick on the halfway line, hit on the angle. First header won by a Harrogate player back across goal. And there was Will Smith. Just more determined, got his head on the ball, managed to direct it. It didn't look like there was too much power in it, but he managed to direct it and place it well. And it bounced into the corner past Sam Slocum, who looked like he was going to keep his goal intact to half-time. Unfortunately doesn't get there. And it's the league team that take the lead. A deserved lead, it's got to be said, but even so, it's a bit of pill for Notts. And you're right, Neil Ardley will have to maybe look at things. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a change or two at half-time. You know, Harrogate have looked like they've, you know, they're into their league season, as opposed to Notts just look, you know, just a little bit off it, don't they? A little bit, I won't say jaded, but a little bit disjointed, if you like, pre-season like. like they're still very much a work in progress, as this game is kind of wedged right in there in the midst of their pre-season, whereas this being Harrogate's 6th competitive fixture since they started earlier this month. Well, most of those have been in cup competitions. They've only played 2 league games. One of those a win at Southend, the other one a draw at the weekend at home against Walsall, although home at the moment is Doncaster Rovers Keepmoat Stadium. It's going to be another Harrogate throw-in just in front of the Notts dugout. Greg Abbott plays the role of disgruntled-looking ball boy, kind of begrudgingly tosses the ball back to the Harrogate left full-back Warren Burrell. Carl Roberts knew exactly what he was doing, kind of jumped into Aaron Martin, never really felt he was going to win the header, and he knew that. He had a quick glance from, it's right below us here in the commentary position, he had a quick glance at Aaron Martin and then jumped into him and gave him a nudge to see if he could get him away from the ball, and that's given away another free kick in a dangerous position. Hugging the left touchline, Thompson stands over the ball. All of the Harrogate players are forwards again. Another cross into that Notts penalty area. The ball headed towards Sam Slocum's goal, but just to the left of it, Slocum catches it. And that is half-time here at Meadow Lane. Measured applause from the Harrogate directors, who sit 5 or 6 rows directly in front of us. And Simon Weaver, the Harrogate manager, makes his way onto the pitch and away to the right-hand side, where he'll disappear down a little tunnel into the bowels of the family stand where the Harrogate changing room is, whilst Neil Ardley wasted no time as he made his way down the main tunnel back towards the home changing room, and he will have a team talk to give. And you wonder the approach of what that team talk will be, because of what we were just saying a few moments ago, this being, yes, Harrogate's 6th competitive fixture, not still to play a competitive fixture prior to tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're going to have to temper it because of them situation. But I don't think he'd be pleased, Neil Ardley. You know, they've had 1 or 2 periods of play, 1 or 2 passages, but other than that, nothing in terms of an attacking sense. No real fluidity to their play. Again, you make the excuses for them of where they are in pre-season, but I think he'll still want an improvement, a little bit of sharpness. I think, and I say, Cal Roberts has been a little bit wasteful with the ball at times when we have got it into them areas, you know. And they're the areas we're going to look to exploit from. He certainly won't be happy with the concession of the goal, which was Harrogate winning 2 headers inside the Notts penalty area from a free kick. That is something that no matter what stage of pre-season you're at, you need to eradicate. So he won't be pleased with that. But we can't say, you know, Harrogate have been the better team. It's not been as one-sided as it was in the first half at Wembley. But having said that, Harrogate have been the better team. They are a good team. They've shown at Wembley they're a good team, and they've shown in the first half tonight that they're a good team, and it's going to be difficult. But I wouldn't be surprised if Neil Ardley makes 1 or 2 changes. He talks about minutes in legs. Obviously, we're limited with the substitutions that can be made, but, you know, this again is part of a process, but he needs to get a goal back, and you know, we've had nothing really in terms of an attacking threat. I think I can just remember the one optimistic pot shot from Jake Reeves. Other than that, a couple of dangerous balls across, and that's been it. So need to find a way of going forward, having a bit more fluidity, a bit more threat.
That plays on the bench this evening. Luke Pilling, the goalkeeper. Dion Kelly-Evans, who celebrated birthday a couple of days ago. Alex Lacey on there. Damien McCrory, who's just coming back from injury. Enzio Baldwin and Elisha Sam. Elisha Sam and Enzio being the 2 attacking threats really on there. So, I mean, at this stage, are you thinking if he's going to change anything, he's going to change it there, and then later on look at defensive areas as well to try and save the legs? Or?
I would think so, but that obviously comes down to how he deems players needing minutes or players not need, you know, players who can play 90 minutes, who doesn't need 90 minutes, if you like. But yeah, Enzio, I think, would be the one you'd look at. Elisha Sam is an unknown, so we'll wait to see what he offers. But I think Enzio is the one you would look at that maybe he could come on and look to change things if he does that at half-time. But we shall wait and see. But he's certainly got you know, questions to answer. It's not disastrous,
no,
that first half by any stretch of the imagination. But, you know, they've got to find a way. You know, it is a cup match after all, and Wembley is at stake at the end of it. So they've got to find a way of getting the goal back.
Indeed, yeah. Harrogate on top at half-time. The stats support that. They've had 8 attempts on goal to Notts only having 2, Notts with 1 on target out of those 2. And, of course, the scoreline shows that Harrogate are on top at half-time as well. They huffed and they puffed. Sam Slocum kept the big bad wolf out for a time with some excellent goalkeeping. But eventually, Will Smith was the man who was able to blow the house down with a goal, breaking through just into stoppage time at the end of that first half with a header, nestling itself in the bottom corner of Sam Slocum's net at half-time here at Meadow Lane. It's Notts 0, Harrogate 1.
season, and I think that is the reason why they've been playing this diamond throughout pre-season, is to give themselves an option, you know, to not be a predictable 4-4-2 that teams can do their homework against and line up against and know what's coming. You know, you always need a plan A, a plan B, a C, D and E at times, but you know, it's certainly worth persisting with. You don't throw it out the way if it doesn't work just how you want, because it does take time. As we saw last season with the set of players that eventually came in, it took 6 or 7 games of the season to get them really up to speed and together.
The linesman had to go and get the Harrogate players from their changing room in the family stand away to our right-hand side, give them a little knock on the door, but both teams back out there on this pristine Meadow Lane playing surface now and ready for the second half. The referee back there as well. Harrogate will kick us off to start this second half in a royal blue kit. They will kick towards the family stand, and the referee, Will Finney, blows his whistle, and we're going again. And just like that, Harrogate decide to boot the ball out for a Notts throw-in on the far side in one of the more bizarre kickoffs that you're likely to see. Whether that was a routine or whether they were just going for field position, I don't know. But Notts take the throw with Richard Brindley and throw it back up the touchline, trying to find the head of Wootton. A couple of Harrogate players close at hand though, and they win possession back, and now they're off to the races down the left hand side with Kiernan, but black and white striped shirts surround him, and I think he's won a throw-in on the far side of the pitch, much to the dismay of Brindley and the ire of Michael Doyle that I can make out. In fact, Jake Reeves all the way from over here. So this throw-in is about 10 yards up the touchline on the opposite side of the pitch. It's 1-0 to Harrogate, early stages of the second half of this FA Trophy semi-final. At the moment, Harrogate are going back to Wembley, but as I say that, Wes Thomas gets possession for Notts just inside the Harrogate half. He rolls it out towards Rodriguez, who's in front of us. He's looking for the overlap down the left from Chickson. Instead, he rolls it across midfield. It's with Doyle out to the right-hand side for Brindley, closed down by Kiernan. Offered the option of Reeves, and he goes short to him, dinks it down that right-hand side. Back to goal edge of the area is Wes Thomas. 1-2 with Reeves to Thomas once more. Now to Roberts. He tries to sneak it in between the Harrogate players. Strong tackle as ever made by now the 39-year-old Michael Doyle. Down the right go Notts once more, looking to try and break down this Harrogate team and find an equaliser. It's a fizzing cross from the far touchline. The in-swinging cross that was from Cal Roberts, straight into the gloves of the goalkeeper Joe Cracknell as they turn the lights out on us in the Derek Pavis stand. Cracknell's in goal then. Ryan Fallowfield at right back for Harrogate. Left back is Warren Burrell, middle of defence. Will Smith, the goal scorer, and Connor Hall. As the big booming goal kick goes all the way up towards the edge of the Notts penalty area. It's cleared away by Chickson up towards the halfway. From right to left across the midfield for the Sulphurites, it's Thompson, Kerry, Falkingham and Kiernan, and up top Aaron Martin and Jack Muldoon. As for Notts, Sam Slocum is in goal. Richard Brindley's at right back. Left back Chickson, middle of defence Rawlinson and Sam Graham. Rawlinson turning 29 years of age today. In midfield, Michael Doyle, Ruben Rodriguez, Jake Reeves and Cal Roberts, and up top Wes Thomas is partnered by Kyle Wootton. Sam Graham wins a header, but maybe mistimes his jump and it flicks off the crown of his head. And did that go behind for a corner kick, Mark Stallard?
Yes, it did, yeah.
Seventh of the game.
Sam Graham just maybe got a little nudge from Jack Muldoon, a little clever little nudge before the ball was there. Maybe just put him off. Mistimed his jump, as you said, and it flicks off, skims off his head. And out for an early corner for Harrogate, of which they had plenty in the first half.
They did. 6 in the first half, 1 now. 3 minutes into the second half here in empty Meadow Lane we are. Here comes the ball into the penalty area towards the back post where a Harrogate man wins a header. There are a few shouts for maybe a penalty as well at the back post by Kerry, but they've still got it at the moment. As I say that, they've lost it, and maybe Notts can mount a counter-attack now of their own. No, they can't, as Roberts clears the ball too far out of his feet, and it just allows Harrogate to get back in there for a moment. That's good play from Chickson, though, tries to steer it away from danger and from the chasing Aaron Martin, and Notts will have a throw-in, and Greg Abbott has some angry words for Cal Roberts, let's say. Yeah,
I think on a few occasions, Cal Roberts, I don't know, he's just trying to do too much. I think he's part of the problem. What you don't want is him thinking he's got to beat everybody, you know, live up to the reputation he earned himself last season. Sometimes you've just got to do the simple things and wait for that opportunity. this second season as well, people will be aware of Cal Roberts, and he may get double teamed, he may get man marked, he may find it himself having a little bit more attention. So that if you do that, then play one touch, two touch, lend it to your opponents and wait for the right opportunity. I think tonight he's maybe just trying to force the issue a little bit too much.
Chickson plays the ball forwards looking for Wootton, who was well marshalled by Will Smith, who then volleys the ball high into this night sky and straight to Sam Slocum, who was about 70 or 80 yards away from him. He quickly bowls it out, and Michael Doyle now has it, surveying his options as he sprays it out to the left-hand side and finds Chickson once more, looking for the 1-2 with Rodriguez, but he's lost possession in a dangerous area, setting Harrogate away once more. Ball into the middle of the park, 10 yards outside of the Notts penalty area. Reeves getting back in there and trying to win it back for the Magpies, but they've still got it, do the town, and it's with Fallowfield, the right fullback. He nearly loses it, and then Notts nearly lose it again, and now the ball goes back to the goalkeeper, and Slocum has to sprint quickly off of his line and clear it away up towards the halfway line. Back to Chickson once more, and it's a little bit scrappy and a wee bit messy out there as Graham now knocks it long into the Harrogate half, and the ball's going to come straight back towards them once more, as neither side at the moment are really able to settle into any sustained spell of possession, let alone pressure.
No, there's been 2 or 3 aimless balls knocked forward already at the start of this second half from Notts to no one in particular, and Harrogate have followed suit as well. They've had a couple of aimless punts up the pitch. But thankfully Notts able to get their foot on the ball now, just exchange a few passes between themselves. This is exactly what they need to do, try and work the space.
And there is a bit of space here for Notts to try and work. It was Roberts to Wootton. Wootton's going to try the spectacular shot. It's deflected across to Brinley, who'll cut it back to Reeves, who shoots straight into the goalkeeper's gloves, who was down low quickly.
Yeah, good bit of play though by Notts. That's what I said about the crispness of the passing. They move it around at the back, wait for that opportunity, get the ball into Roberts and Rodriguez, so the two sort of attacking options in the middle, and get them turned. It eventually found its way into Kyle Wootton. His shot from outside the box was blocked, but outside to the right-hand side to Richard Brinley, who pulled it back to the late arriving Jake Reeves, whose first-time effort with his right foot, unfortunately, for Notts was straight at Joe Cracknell, but good football. It would have been nice to see us finish a couple of yards either side of Cracknell. He met it well, unfortunately, straight into the Harrogate keeper's hands.
Play 51.5 minutes. You're listening to Match Night on BBC Radio Nottingham. Plenty of sport on the way for you over the next few days. On Friday there'll be another match night from 6 o'clock, this one with David Jackson, and that'll be live, bringing you commentary of Huddersfield against Nottingham Forest. On Saturday there'll be updates in the afternoon on Mansfield Town against Exeter City, and on Thursday week, if you can think that far ahead at the moment, there will be quarter-final T20 cricket with Notts against Leicester. On clearance forwards from Cracknell, met by the head of Connell Rawlinson, who was last year's player of the season, according to the fans. Here come Harrogate again, cutting the ball into the edge of that Notts penalty area once more. More danger for the Magpies. Good cut out from the Notts defence there back, and then there's a rocket of an effort from around 25 yards out, which has flown over the top of the crossbar and gone behind for a goal kick, which is giving the referee a moment to check on Richard Brinley, who is down on the far side, writhing around in pain as well. He's on all fours now, and the physio's yet to come on. So maybe that suggests that Brinley will be okay.
Yeah, but again, another dangerous moment. Harrogate again going forward. A little cut back to the edge of the penalty. They just eventually got in the way. Notts managed to hassle them around. The ball broke clear from 25 yards. It was Lloyd Kerry on his right foot running onto the ball. Fancied his chances, but the ball always rising. Struck it firmly. But Sam Slocum just happy to see it go over his crossbar and into the empty Hayden Green family stand away to our right. A couple of times West Thomas there. The last 2 times the ball's been into him, not being able to hold the ball up, and it's absolutely vital that strikers do that. It's frustrating, and he'll be getting, I say, cursory glances from his teammates. He might get a flea in his ear as well, because if you are going to keep possession of the ball, you need your strikers in them situations to keep hold of the ball and allow you to get up the pitch. If it keeps coming back, not so find themselves camped in and under pressure.
It's funny, as you said, get up the pitch, I overheard Neil Ardley scream, get up the pitch, to one of his players, if not many of them.
It's almost like I know what I'm talking about. Almost.
Harrogate have it just inside the Notts half. It's with Falkingham, plays a 1-2 with Lloyd Kerry He's 32 now. He's been with Harrogate for the last 6 years, which this level of football is pretty rare because of the short contracts. And they come again down the right with Fallowfield. Plays his ball back into the Notts penalty area, and fortunately, I think Reeves did just about enough to put off the Harrogate midfielder, Kerry, breaking into the penalty area, but the danger's not cleared yet as another cross is looped into that 18-yard box. This one, though, not particularly well aimed, and it will go behind, over the top of the crossbar and onto the roof of the netting. Played nearly 10 minutes of the second half. In that 10 minutes, Mark Stallard, have you seen enough to show you that anything's changed from the first?
Not really. Notts have had that one good passage of play that ended up with Jake Reeves' shot on target, unfortunately straight into the into Cracknell's hands. But apart from that, Harrogate, they look dangerous, don't they, coming forward again. Just had a moment down the right-hand side, good bit of play. Fallowfield getting forward, firing the ball across. It was Kerry flinging himself at it, arriving at pace in the penalty area, and eventually Kiernan's cross back onto the roof of the net. But they certainly keen, Harrogate. They throw bodies forward. They're a good team. Let's not take anything away from it. There's a reason they're in the league. They are a good team. They've got good movement. They've got hunger about themselves. And they're ahead of Notts fitness-wise.
This is better. Wes Thomas, bit of space, edge of the area. Now to Roberts, back across the penalty area. Finds Rodriguez, who shoots, but it's good defending back there from Kerry. Throws himself at the ball, and as a result of that deflection, Harrogate have now got a counter-attack of their own. Down the left-hand side, Thompson's trying to join it. Falkingham likewise, and it was with the Harrogate skipper for a moment before he exchanged a couple of 1-2s with Burrell on the left-hand side. Now to Thompson and back to Falkingham once more, and Notts have got enough men back as Falkingham switches it across to Fallowfield. Notts fly forward. It's Michael Doyle doing the flying as he wins it back, but just as quickly they lose it again, and there's an effort from around 20 yards or so from the Harrogate skipper, who blazes it high, wide and not particularly handsome, and almost in anger and frustration and maybe a little bit of himself, he tells George Thompson, the right winger, that it's his fault and he should have actually been in a different position that would have allowed him to make the killer pass through the lines.
Exactly, you don't become a skipper without being able to pass the blame like that. But again, it came from a breakdown between Notts, Michael Doyle and Cal Roberts, miscommunication. Doyle playing to feet, Cal Roberts going in behind, and a good ball for Notts.
There's another good ball as well. Reeves into the feet of Rodriguez, now to Wootton inside the penalty area. Over towards a bit of an acute angle in the end, and his shot is deflected behind by a sliding Ryan Fallowfield, and Notts have a second corner. We spoke just only a couple of minutes ago, Mark Stallard, and said, have you seen anything in the first 10 minutes or so of this second half which tells you it's any different from the first? Well, moves like that through the lines tell you that perhaps things are clicking up.
Yeah, it's through the lines, and it was two passes through two sets of lines from the defence into the midfield, getting on that number 10 position on the half turn, and then a ball through the inside left channel for Kyle Wootton down the left-hand side. His shot just deflected wide of the near post, but two passes and Notts are through in the 18-yard box.
It's going to be an in-swinging corner, though. Roberts is over there offering the short ball. Two Notts players inside the 6-yard box, both of them not the tallest. The other three, who are much taller, are on the penalty spot as the ball comes in. Aimed towards Kyle Wootton, Connell Rawlinson, Sam Graham, all of them miss it, as Harrogate will sneak their way out down the left-hand side, and Kerry has got a man free on that right-hand side. It is with him now, the midfielder, and the Notts players are getting lots of numbers back, trying to get in front of him, and they've done just enough. Really good running back there to try and stop that counter-attack that showed so much promise for the Salisburyites. The danger not gone, though, as now Burrell's got it on the left-hand side. In fact, it's with Kiernan, who'll shoot. It's deflected up over the top, and another corner kick. They show real danger when they break and they commit men like that.
Yeah, certainly do, and they break with pace and intensity, don't they? And they throw bodies forward, and they're a real threat. It's got to be said, they are a real threat, and they've got threats all over the pitch in them attacking sense. But I go back to that counter-attack. It all came up, the ball into the striker, gets held up and allows Harrogate to spring that counter-attack. So I'm talking about with Wes Thomas and Notts on occasion, just a sloppy touch, everything breaks down and doesn't allow you to build anything.
Thompson with the corner kick. That's a good one, fizzed in. I know I've said fizzed a few times, but that's exactly what he did. He drove it into the edge of the 6-yard box, and really, Connor Hall should have done better. He had not a free header, but he certainly had the command over the man that was marking him, and he's just put his header wide, head shaped like a 20p piece or something, because if he hits the target, it's probably a goal. Yeah,
exactly. But again, I'd just be a little bit concerned the number of headers that Harrogate are winning in the Notts penalty area. That's where the goal came from in the first half. 2 headers won. That's again another chance for Hall there. It's an old problem with Notts we had 2 or 3 seasons ago. We don't want that rearing its ugly head again.
Lloyd Kerry has been booked for what the referee deemed to be a cynical one on Cal Roberts. Pulled him down as Roberts was looking to break into the Harrogate half, and so Notts have got a free kick inside the centre circle, just inside Harrogate territory. Michael Doyle stands over the ball. Kerry goes into the book. The only other man in the book this evening, Richard Brindley, for a similarly cynical one in the first half. Notts goes short into Wootton, out to Chickson on the left-hand side. He needs support. He's got 2 blue shirts right in front of him. Chickson tries to buy himself a bit of space and puts it out for a throw-in, and Neil Ardley turns away with utter frustration.
Yeah, a little short free kick then. Instead of putting the ball in the box, played it short into Carl. Came out to Chickson on this left-hand side, but immediately 2 Harrogate players in front of him. He's looking for a Notts shirt, didn't find any, and just a little bit of rustiness in the footwork, and able to heavy touch, and it's out of play, and it comes to nothing for Notts. It's them bits that look to me where Notts are just a little bit ring rusty, if you like, in terms of competitive games, and certainly against a sharp opposition like Harrogate.
A couple of Notts players warming up away to our left-hand side. One of them is Elisha Sam, and the other one looks like it's NCO Baldwin. It's Harrogate again, break up over the top with a long ball this time, and Keane nearly had Notts on the heels. But referee's given the Magpies a free kick inside their own D on the edge of Sam Slocum's penalty area, and hardly wants more intensity and a bit more energy, I think, from some of his players out there this evening. He's getting increasingly animated on the near touchline and increasingly frustrated at sloppy bits of play like that, Mark Stallard, where the ball has been put out by Wes Thomas this time for a throw-in. Yeah,
again, sloppiness. If you're going to play against a team like Harrogate, who are as sharp as they are, in the form that they are, you know, they'll be on a high after the promotion last season. You don't need to be giving them a hand like that, and Wes Thomas has been the culprit on a few occasions in this second half, been sloppy with his play, and he'll do well to get himself over that far side away from Neil Ardley and Greg Abbott for a minute or 2.
I think he certainly will. Meanwhile, Slocum just dished the ball out quickly into the feet of Jake Reeves. He had 2 blue shirts around him, so he quickly had to give it back again. Notts have it as they play it long up towards Wootton, who turned his man. He's dragged to the ground again. You talk, it looks pretty cynical from Connor Hall, and the referee says half a dozen to one and 6 to the other and play on.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Carl Wootton had outstrengthened the defender, got him pinned, and just turned and tried to roll him. Hard to tell from here who was grabbing hold of who. Sometimes as a striker, you get a hold of the centre half and make it look like he's dragging you down when you're favourite. A bit of a trick of the trade, but
I was going to say, you sound like you're speaking from experience.
Well, certainly, because I wouldn't have had the pace to chase the other side of it, so you had to do that. But yeah, Carl Wootton did well there and can consider himself a little unlucky not to get the free kick.
Throwing for Notts instead on the far touchline. Looks like it's Reeves over there, but he's going to leave it for Richard Brindley to take. I guess what Notts don't have this season is the long throw. When Mitchell Rose was at the football club, they had that long throw on offer, which from sort of positions like this, in a general proximity of relatively close to the edge of the opponent's penalty area, they could launch a long bomb in, but it doesn't seem like there's anybody at the football club this year who possesses the long throw. Sam Graham's under a bit of pressure from Muldoon, goes all the way back to his goalkeeper, Sam Slocum. 62 minutes gone, still 1-0 to Harrogate. That goal coming just a few seconds into stoppage time at the end of the first half. Will Smith with a header from a free kick. Notts lost the first header and the second header, and so often you see that if you lose a couple of headers in a row, a couple of aerial balls in a row inside your own penalty area from a set piece, it can so often spell danger. Here's Thompson down the right-hand side. Left-footed cross into the 18-yard box, floated up into the gloves of Sam Slocum, who quickly bowls it out to Michael Doyle. Doyle square to Brindley. Brindley straight into the feet of Kerry, and Notts have it all on them once again as Harrogate are in possession. This time they're lucky in that Thompson's touch is poor, and Notts can kind of stumble from one error to another, this time without being punished. Where's Thomas on the ball on his left-hand side in front of the Notts dugout. Gets a little lucky there as Rodriguez nutmegs Will Smith, but never was able to get round him, and so Smith wheels away with possession, then gives it away, and now Rodriguez is in possession as he wheels away as well. He's got 3 blue shirts in front of him, tries to get between 2 of them, and you won't be too surprised to hear has lost out as well. It's very messy.
It is messy, but there you see immediately the hunger of the Harrogate players getting around Rodriguez, getting around Wes Thomas before that. You know, there's 4 players surrounding Rodriguez. He's got no options really from Notts players helping him out, and ultimately, eventually, he has the ball taken off him. But like I say, that is not by luck or by judgment that Harrogate have got 4 players around the ball. It's their fitness levels, of course, but it's also the quality. And you know, they're a good team. They don't give you time to play. That's what, you know, makes them such a good team.
Notts trying to move it forwards towards Wootton once more, but loses out, and it'll be a throw-in on the far side. And Neil Ardley, Greg Abbott are stood next to each other in the technical area, both of them with their arms folded, almost mirror image of each other as far as their stance, and they're talking about changes. I think you can be sure of that. Harrogate likewise have dispatched 3 players to go and warm up, as Sam Graham and Sam Slocum will have to decide what they wish to do as the ball goes up over the top. Graham left it for Slocum, and a bit unnecessarily Muldoon barged into the back of Graham, bundled him to the ground, and it'll be a free kick for Notts deep in their own half. One of the 2 Sams will take it, probably going to be Graham by the looks of things. And it needs a change, Mark Stellar, by the looks of things, and looks like we're going to get 2 changes with Enzio Baldwin and Elijah Sam coming on.
Yeah, it certainly does. They've got the bibs on. They've just come back from a warm-up. Neil Ardley giving them both an in-depth talking to, obviously telling them what he wants from them. They'll go and get their shirts on, get themselves ready, and I expect a double change for Notts, and maybe a slight change in formation, but we'll break off as Notts now break down the right-hand side.
Here's some space for Cal Roberts, who's forgotten the ball, and that has just kind of delayed the counter-attack for a moment. It's with Brindley, who finds Ruben Rodriguez, and his header goes just wide. For a moment it felt like a lot of the sting had gone out of the attack when Roberts had forgotten the ball, but Brindley with a good cross into the penalty area found Rodriguez, and I'm not sure that was too far wide.
Yeah, it was a good chance again. Cal Roberts, as you say, with plenty of space on that right-hand side, and again a bit of rustiness, just not taking the ball with him. Comes back, and then when the ball is delivered, it stood up to the back post. Rodriguez gets up reasonably well, and will feel a little bit disappointed. He hasn't guided his header on target. He's about 8 or 9 yards out, but he was largely unchallenged. Didn't seem to be too robust, and just needed a firmer header. Got too much of a glance on it, and I think it probably went a couple of yards wide of Cracknell's right-hand post. But that was not a bad opportunity for Notts.
Defended on the edge of their own penalty area they are again, but the linesman's flag is up. Notts will have a free kick on the edge of that box, and we're about to find out who the changes are for. Elisha Sam, I'm spying on the 4th official's illuminated board, which he's holding down by his waist at the moment. Sam is going to come on for Wes Thomas. He's done a bit of a tour, really, as Elisha Sam, of Europe and beyond in recent years. His football career has taken him from Belgium to Israel to Holland to Bulgaria and now to England. His Rodriguez steps away from his man, tries to squeeze it through a couple of Harrogate defenders to find Wes Thomas, but it was just nicked as he did so. Graham wins a header. Harrogate back in possession once more, but Reeves is battling hard, and now Roberts is as well. All of this inside the centre circle, but Harrogate managed to keep hold of the ball and work it back to their defenders and back to Falkingham, who so much of the play goes through. So yeah, Enzio stripped, Sam stripped as well. Get both of them an encouraging pat from Neil Ardley. And Harrogate, meanwhile, on the pitch, are still in possession on the right-hand side. 68 minutes on the clock. This could spell danger as Muldoon turns away from his man. Now to Kiernan, edge of the 18-yard box, sticks a curling left-footed effort way over the top of the crossbar. Yeah,
and here comes the double substitution. I just wondered if Muldoon was going to pull the trigger with his left foot, just try and shape one, use the defender in front of him and shape one into the far corner. Opted to pass the ball, and thankfully Kiernan just underneath the ball, stabbing it towards goal, never really with any conviction, and the ball goes over Sam Slocum's bar and allows Notts to make this double substitution.
Here comes Sam. He's very tall. And the other change, we'll see Ruben Rodriguez come off and Enzio Baldwin come on, and Ardley gets comes across and gives Rodriguez I guess an encouraging kind of well done, because he's probably looked one of Notts' better players on what has otherwise been a pretty average night.
Yeah, I think he's shown flashes, hasn't he? Shown some good touches in spells, but again, this is you know, it's getting more competitive through pre-season. There's a world away from a pre-season friendly at Alfreton, at Telford, at places like that when it comes to getting him ready for the National League and the rigours of what's going to be, we hope, Saturday, Tuesday football for a long time. You know, this is a real good test against a good team. You know, and he's shown some good touches, so, you know, reasons to be optimistic on a personal level for Ruben Rodriguez.
Harrogate making a change as well. Jack Muldoon will come off, very much one of their danger men, and on comes Mark Beck. In fact, funnily enough, just a few moments ago I saw Simon Weaver, the Harrogate manager, glance to his right and look up at Elisha Sam and go, oh, he's tall. And he immediately then turned to Mark Beck and said, get stripped, you're going on. So Notts have brought on their big tall tree, and as a counter move, Harrogate have done likewise, bringing Beck on, so you can guarantee that they will match each other up at any dead ball situations. Notts have it, game back underway inside the 70th minute, continuing to trail the Magpies by a 1-0 against Harrogate Town, who I don't think anybody could make any argument this evening to say that they don't deserve to be a goal up, even at this stage. That's nice from Enzio Baldwin. He dummies the ball, turns down the right, runs on, and rather than taking another touch, tries to play the ball in quickly towards Kyle Wootton, but it was cut out before it could reach him. Now, Elisha Sam wins a header. Almost finds Wootton. Wootton falling over as he does so. He's managed to steer the ball in the direction of Cal Roberts, though he couldn't get it out of his feet with 3 Harrogate players around him, and they will clear down the right-hand side. It will run all the way through to Sam Slocum. 2 big men forward, although Kyle Wootton isn't exactly your kind of out-and-out target man, but Elisha Sam, I don't think there's any question about whether or not he is.
I was going to say this will be the first time in a Notts shirt that Kyle Wootton's been the smaller of the front two. I think, Elisha Sam must be what, 6'4", 6'5"?
At least.
Yeah, he's a big lad.
It's with Chickson to Michael Doyle, and back across the 18-yard box to Rawlinson and out to Brinley and back to Reeves once more. Reeves plays it down the right wing, trying to find Wootton. But again, Harrogate are there defending resolutely. And across the defence they go. It's applauded by the substitutes for Harrogate as they switch it from left to right into Thompson once more. He's immediately closed down by Chickson and he's robbed of possession. Gets it towards Sam, who gets away from Thompson and now able to stretch those big legs of his down the left-hand side. He's got a man to beat in front of him. He takes it past him as well, but the touch has gone too far out of his feet and through towards the goalkeeper. Name up in lights, I think he saw for a moment.
Yeah, I think that was the just come on a sub and trying to make a name for yourself, and did really well initially. Chickson did well, nicked the ball. Sam got the ball on the halfway line, managed to evade a couple of tackles and open his legs, and he's mobile. He's 6'5", but he's obviously mobile as well. Fancy these chances of running the defender. Unfortunately, just a bit of a heavy touch, and it runs through to Cracknell in the Harrogate goal and comes to nothing.
Doyle's got the ball. A couple of blue shirts around him on the edge of his own penalty area. So he goes back to Slocum, to Reeves, to Rawlinson, to Slocum once more. The blue shirts are still present, so in the end Slocum clears it out towards Chickson on the left hand side, but it's a good ball and a good header, and then a bad touch from Baldwin, and Harrogate have it back once more, and this could spell danger as Thompson nearly gets on the end of it as Graham comes across, makes the slide tackle, puts it out for a throw in, and then says to Enzio, any chance of a better touch, mate?
Yeah, well, we'll forgive him, he's only just on the pitch, but again, we've seen that from a number of players tonight, from not just clumsy heavy touches that you wouldn't ordinarily see, and that's, again, I keep repeating myself, but that is a circumstance of being sort of in a pre-season. It's what happens, your touches, you know, let's face it, what's this, the 4th game in 6 months, not so bad. Something, you know, if you include Wembley, the playoff semi, you know, 4th game in that last game of the season, so, you know, you can understand players not having the crispness of touch, but having said that, you know, Harrogate, who have had a couple of league games, just able to move the ball a little bit sharper. Their touch seems a little bit more at it, if you like.
Get the sense that was not a good tackle, that, as Cal Roberts, I think it is Cal Roberts, who's down on the far side, was breaking down the right touchline and very cynically was hacked down by Brendan Kiernan, looking to stop the play instead of do anything, I think, to really injure Roberts. But he has done by the looks of things, and there's some urgency from Jake Reeves, who was stood over him. He wanted the physio on quickly, and Roberts hasn't stopped writhing around in real pain, and he's on his back at the moment. Michael Doyle wasn't happy with the Harrogate player and not happy with the referee, still saying to him that maybe that could have been an even bigger punishment for Brendan Kiernan. Like I said, I don't think he was trying to do anything too cynical, but it has, well, it was cynical, but he wasn't trying to hurt the Notts player, but that is exactly what he has done, and Roberts is down and still appears to be in quite a lot of pain. Simon Weaver, the Harrogate manager, is ready to change, and it'll be Connor Kirby, former Sheffield Wednesday and Macclesfield player, who will come on in a moment. He's only 22 years old, but at the moment the physio for Notts is still working on, it looks like the right ankle perhaps. From here, we're a long way away, but it looks like the right ankle of Callum Roberts. Kiernan's just gone across to check on him. And in a moment we'll have a free kick, and in a moment we'll have a substitution. It's going to be Lloyd Kerry, who's already been booked for Harrogate, who will be coming off. He's the man who's been at Harrogate since 2014, only bettered by Simon Weaver, who's been the manager there since 2009, and upon promotion to the Football League, he's now the longest serving manager in the Football League by some 3.5 years on Gareth Ainsworth. And these are worrying scenes, Mark Stellar, because now there are two physios and by the looks of things a doctor on the pitch as well, with Cal Roberts, who is still lying down, and he's got his hands over his face in dismay and agony by the looks of things. And now the stretcher's being brought onto the pitch, the brace, and a full medical team.
Yeah, and he's been banging his left leg on the floor because he's showing how much pain he's been in. Jake Reeves was the player that opened. He was screaming for the physio to come on. We can hear that because there's no noise in the stadium tonight, obviously. But Callum Roberts obviously in severe pain there, and not good when you see the sort of the stretcher and the bodyboard come on. The doctor's there. His right leg is the one that's been caught, and they've not particularly seemed to have moved it. From what we can see, he's over on the far side, so he's a distance away. But that always makes me fear of a break of something, you know, a bone or some sort of injury like that they haven't actually moved him at all. He's been writhing in agony. So obviously massive concern, and this is exactly the thing that Notts didn't need from this game tonight. Of course, they want to win the game and get to Wembley, but what they don't want is injuries, severe injuries to key players. And we'll keep our fingers crossed here, but there's going to be a lengthy delay because there's 6 or 7 medical people on the pitch with the stretcher, and Cal Roberts has been down for 2 or 3 minutes already, and he hasn't moved. He's still flat out on his back, and they're attending that right leg. Like you, it was a cynical trip, if you like, to bring the player down, and I don't think there was any real intent to injure the player, but it doesn't look good from a Notts perspective, and Neil Ardley will be absolutely cursing this if it turns out to be anything serious and keeps Cal Roberts out for any length of time.
In such red-hot form prior to tonight, towards the tail end of last season, and after the restart in the playoffs as well. As I said earlier on this evening, Cal Roberts has scored in 5 of his last 5 games, and it's not going to be one of those moments where they bring the stretcher on and the player then, you know, hobbles off. He's going to need the stretcher this evening, and Brendan Kiernan, as Cal Roberts is now being carried off the pitch, has gone across to check on him once more. The substitution will be made from a Notts perspective, and it will see Dion Kelly-Evans come on for Roberts, and well, that's a real loss, as everybody knows. The impact that Roberts has made since he joined Notts at the turn of the year. There's applause from the Harrogate directors, the Notts directors as well, and the substitutes in this Derek Pavers stand, and the unused players around us as Roberts comes off. He's still got his hand over his face, and yeah, it's not good at all as he now makes his way down the tunnel, being carried by 4 members of support staff and medical team here. Yep,
not good at all when you see any player stretched off a pitch, but say Cal Roberts for Notts, that'll be a nightmare. Neil Ardley be hoping that heals itself.
Here comes the
quickly
the resulting free kick, which has been headed behind by Harrogate for a 3rd corner kick of the evening. And so often terrible injuries like that can really affect the momentum of the game. I don't think there was any great momentum in this game anyway, but it can impact the players and some of the psyche on there sometimes, particularly when it happens to a mate of theirs. This is the resulting corner. There are 4 Notts players gathered around almost in the love train formation near the penalty spot, and Michael Doyle stood just inside the 6-yard box making a nuisance of himself. It's going to be an outswinging corner in at the near post, headed up in the air by Falkingham and out towards the corner taker, Jake Reeves. It's gone out for a Notts throw-in instead. Harrogate are still ready to make their change, which they have been for about 5 or 6 minutes. They will now do so, and it'll be Lloyd Kerry who'll come off, and Connor Kirby who'll come on for the Sulphurites. We're in the 80th minute. It's 1-0 to Harrogate. They took the lead in stoppage time at the end of the first half through Will Smith, and I think we're going to have, well, at least the 10 minutes plus maybe 6 or 7 minutes of stoppage time, and that's how long Notts have got to try and find an equaliser. If they can find an equaliser, the game will go straight to penalties rather than any extra time. Long clearance away from Harrogate up towards Beck, who'll control it on his chest. He's got Sam Graham on his back. Graham does just about enough to shrug him off the ball. If Beck were a smaller man, he might have got a free kick, but as he's 6'5" and built like a doorman, he's unlikely to get one, and he didn't. Doyle's got it deep in his own half, plays it forwards, looking for Sam, who chests it into space and almost flies into a tackle, just pulls out at the last moment, and Harrogate will look to break in the opposite direction. Beck shows a poor touch, and it allows the Irishman Michael Doyle to get there. It's now with Reeves, who managed to stumble his way through a tackle or two, and then Enzio flies in. He might have stood on Fallowfield, who himself is now writhing around in pain, and then Doyle flies into a challenge, never one to be shy. Bit of pushing and shoving might ensue. Doyle says to the referee, "I'm not interested," he'll be booked. I dare say if the season goes ahead, that won't be the last time he sees a yellow card this season.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly safe bet. Ryan Fallowfield's still on the floor. I think he was just trodden on inadvertently by Enzio. But a couple of tackles flying in. It's not bad to see. Yeah, it's not bad to see. You think there's a Wembley final at stake. This is a semi-final. It's hard to... You sort of have to remind yourself of that sometimes. With no atmosphere in here, it's a little bit subdued, and with everything that's gone off, and certainly the announcements today, I think that's, just added to the subdued atmosphere and the subdued nature of things tonight. But there is a Wembley final at stake, and Notts have got 10 minutes or 9 minutes plus whatever stoppage time will be remaining, which will be 4 or 5 minutes, I would think, after that Cal Roberts injury stoppage, to get themselves an equaliser and try and take it to a penalty shootout.
Elisha Sam, again, shows decent control for a big man, gets the ball under control, gets it back towards Chickson, out to Dion Kelly-Evans. Kelly-Evans is out on that right-hand side since coming on for the injured Cal Roberts. We'll chat to Neil Ardley after the game and see if there's any update there. Obviously, it'll be early days, but it'll be interesting to see what exactly happened there. It looked like it was an injury to the lower part of his right leg. Jake Reeves gives it to Doyle in the middle of midfield, inside the Harrogate half, out to Chickson on the left. Just about controls it, keeps it in, back to Reeves, outside of the boot, finds Sam, who controls it with his studs of his right foot. Holds off a couple of players, dinks it in towards Chickson, who'd already gone, and so Harrogate have it back, but as I say that, they give it back to Notts. Here's Enzio Baldwin, middle of the pitch, turns, tries to weave between a couple of players, ends up giving the ball away. Again, it looks like he's trying to run at 100 miles an hour when his body might not be ready to do it yet. Yeah,
there's been a few examples of that, and I think that's a pretty good description, Charlie, that of what it is, where your mind is playing at 100%, but obviously your body in pre-season is maybe 95%, and there's been a few examples of Notts players like that tonight, where their touch has just been clumsy, or their second touch, if you like, trying to run with the ball, trying to get it out the feet. It's just been... almost as if the feel and the touch is just not quite there.
Thompson for Harrogate, near the halfway line, back inside to Falkingham, who immediately plays the ball down the Harrogate right, Notts left, and Graham comes across and clears it away. Neil Ardley has some words of advice, encouragement, criticism, I don't know, one of the three, from the edge of his technical area. And Fallowfield will take the throw-in, 25 yards or so inside the Notts half, in front of the Derek Pavis stand, looking for Mark Beck, just over the top of his head, would you believe it or not, given that he's as tall as a tree. And it's out for Goal kick. Sam Slocum showing a bit of urgency, wanting it back as quickly as he possibly can, and there'll need to be some urgency if Notts want to get anything out of this. And again, as soon as I think you were saying just a few moments ago, Stal, and rightly so, you do almost have to remind yourself of how much is at stake. Yeah, Notts played Harrogate at Wembley 51 days ago, but there is a Wembley final at stake in this game. And at the moment, it's going to be Harrogate that'll be going back there for the second time in about 6 weeks, and not Notts County. Harrogate, who this evening they're playing their 6th competitive fixture of the new season. Notts playing their first, and who knows if it will be their last given the restrictions and announcements today. But here come Notts again with Enzio, who the ball was Kyle Wootton out to the right-hand side. I think he maybe knew that or maybe got caught in two minds. The ball in the end dribbled through to the goalkeeper as he got it wrong.
Yeah, again, at the point of that diamond, Enzio's come on and replaced Cal Roberts, and he's found himself in that. And Notts have got the ball in there, but the brain just can't send the message to the feet to pick out the right pass. It's not just Enzio. There's been 3 or 4 players for Notts tonight, when it matters, in good areas, trying to pick out that cute final ball. The weight and the vision for it, if you like, has just not quite been there, and they picked the wrong option. And I say that is unfortunately symptomatic of what happens in pre-season.
Free kick Harrogate inside the centre circle, just inside the Notts half for handball against Kyle Wootton after Dion Kelly-Evans went flying through Brendan Kiernan. If you're a Notts fan and you were here, you'd probably be booing Kiernan at the moment for the tackle on Cal Roberts that saw him go off injured. 5 minutes to go. Long up over the top and down the right-hand side. Thompson wants a corner kick, albeit I think he was chancing his arm, and linesman said it will be a goal kick instead. Slocum takes it quickly and gives it to Rawlinson on the edge of his own 6-yard box, who turns and brings it out by about 20 yards and gives it to Kelly-Evans. What have we learnt this evening, Mark Stallard?
That I think that Notts still need a couple more matches under their belts. I think they'll be better for this. I mean, they're going to go into the season, if we still assuming the season is going to start on October the 3rd, given that there's no league teams to play in friendlies, this is going to be the most competitive game they're going to have before that Dover game. So they will get something out of it. We hope Cal Roberts isn't injured. I think fitness, minutes in legs, competitive minutes in legs is the best thing you can say. It's been, not a great performance, but not a terrible performance. But Harrogate have dominated the game, although Notts have not conceded too many chances in the second half. It's not been anything like as open as the game at Wembley. It's largely been played in the middle of the park, but Harrogate have certainly been the better team. Can Notts find something in this remaining 4 minutes plus stoppage time?
Doyle with a cross into the penalty area finds Wootton, and he was trying to just get a little bit of space, bit of freedom to free himself from 2 Harrogate defenders, and whilst he got his head on the ball, couldn't quite direct it goalwards. In fact, I think it might hit the side of his head in the end, if not the kind of back left corner of it, if you have a corner to your head. And he's gone behind for a goal kick. Listen, man, it's not just the players that are rusty. I've not done this for a while either. It's all coming back to me. This is only my 3rd game in 6 months too.
All that doctor's training's gone to waste. Back left corner of your head.
Yeah, I think we know why I don't work in the health service. Goal kick as it is. Cleared it long. And Beck will kind of glance a header through, straight through to the goalkeeper, Sam Slocum. Less than 3 minutes remain, but we're going to have a pretty lengthy chunk of stoppage time due to the injury that happened with Cal Roberts in the 73rd, 74th minute. Doyle's got a man on, so goes to Rawlinson and back across to Sam Graham. And Harrogate have started to sit back a little bit in the last few minutes, inviting Notts on, inviting that pressure. It's on Notts to try and find a bit of space now, possibly between the lines, and find a bit of magic that they so far this evening haven't been able to.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, it's by hook or by crook now. They just need to get the ball forward when they can, but they're having trouble keeping the ball and trying to build too much. Notts, so again, credit to Harrogate.
Falkingham lays it down the right-hand side looking for Martin, and it's gone out for a throw. Martin says it should have been a Harrogate throw because of a double ricochet, but linesman disagrees. As you so often find in these stages of the game, those little 50-50 decisions so often go to the team that's trailing. Poor throw-in. Trying to find Reeves instead. It was a good interception made by Thompson near the edge of the Notts penalty area, and then there's a lot of interplay and tick-a-tack of football, but Notts have it back with Reeves, who plays a long ball forwards up towards the centre spot.
Good play.
Kyle Wootton controls it, gets it out of his feet, finds Dion Kelly-Evans down the right-hand side, who in turn tries to find the return cross into the edge of the penalty area where the likes of Enzio, Sam and Wootton were waiting for it, but what a great ball. But those moments, I think back to last season, which, you know, as we've already established tonight, for all I know is still this season, given that this is the FA Trophy of last season. Those were the moments when Notts looked their best, when they got the ball in, moved it quickly, turned it onto a wing and got the fullbacks bombing down. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that is what you need. You need to get your forwards, your fullbacks into forward positions, advanced positions. We saw that in the playoff final, how well Harrogate did it. You know, it's a big part of modern football now. You know, you play narrower in the middle of the park, and fullbacks absolutely bombing on. You look at the top levels of football and see that the top fullbacks, you know, they're almost wingers nowadays, but they're expected to do the defensive job as well. So, you know, that's exactly what Neil Ardley wants with his diamond formation. He's got to have fullbacks who can get up and down the pitch and provide that attacking width and be able to do a shift the other way. A familiar face has just made his way onto the pitch. John Stead, who spent 4 years here at Meadow Lane, scored more than 50 goals for the football club, is on inside the 90th minute, replacing Aaron Martin. And his job will be to use a bit of that experience. He nearly got a goal at Wembley. That was his first ever appearance at Wembley, and he should have scored. Mercifully for Notts, he didn't. It was very kind of him. Here come Notts, breaking into the Harrogate half with real pace and intent through Jake Reeves. Out to the left-hand side to Elisha Sam, who just about controls the ball and keeps hold of it, and then switches it from left to right. As stoppage time has gone up, we've got 7 minutes of it that will be played now, as Dion Kelly-Evans sneaks into the penalty area and almost gets the cross, and it was just his touch which went a little bit too far out of his feet, and instead he's won a corner. Yeah, lovely Notts play, lovely build-up that is. Down the left-hand side, and then Elisha Sam switching the play with a 50-yard ball to Dion Kelly-Evans. A little give and go, and a ball inside the fullback. Dion Kelly, just a heavy first touch, allowing the Harrogate defender to get across and block his attempted crossing. But it will be a corner to Notts from their attacking right. As I say, 7 minutes of additional time at the end of this game. Here comes the in-swinging ball straight into the gloves of the goalkeeper, Joe Cracknell, who will probably not have an easier claim than that all season long. Stepped out of his goal, wasn't impeded in any way, shape or form, and was able to grab the ball out of the night sky. Yeah, completely unchallenged. That's disappointing. You know, Notts haven't had too much in an attacking sense tonight, so you want to make use of set pieces. And just to put one into the keeper's hands like that without a challenge on it, not near whoever you're trying to, whoever your intended target is. That's a real waste for Notts. But, as I say, 7 minutes of stoppage time to try and get something and try and force, as you say, straight to penalties. You know, they're not out of this yet. No, indeed. A 1-0 lead is a fragile one, as Doyle gets the ball back to Chickson, and in turn he finds Sam Graham and across to Sam Slocum as Rawlinson takes over on the right-hand side. We've played a minute and a half of the 7 minutes added on. You're listening to BBC Radio Nottingham. You may be watching us on the Notts County YouTube channel as well. However you're doing it, we're glad that you're here. We wish, of course, that you were actually here at Meadow Lane. We'll see how long it will be before we're all reunited once again, but appreciate your company nonetheless, and hope that it won't be too long before we've got another Notts County commentary for you to bring you on BBC Radio Nottingham. There is more sport on the way on Friday, incidentally. Match night from Huddersfield against Forest, coverage from 6 o'clock with David Jackson. There'll be updates on Saturday afternoon on Mansfield Town against Exeter City, and a week on Thursday there's cricket, the T20 Blast quarter-finals between Notts and Leicestershire. The ball is in the hands of the Harrogate goalkeeper, Cracknell. Puts it on the ground and boots it out. There'll be a throw-in to Harrogate. You can hear Neil Hardley screaming on the near touchline, wanting more from his players. What did he want there? Still more urgency, more energy, or more direction from the clearance? I think it was a bit more frustration from Neil Hardley, to be honest, as a Sam Graham header just skews off the side of his head, goes out for a throw-in. But it's been better in the second half from Notts. You know, they've kept Harrogate at bay. You know, they've had as many chances, if not more, themselves, but not really cut Harrogate open at any real stage.
not really giving you the belief that they are going to get this equaliser. You feel it's going to be something from nothing. But, that's the way football can go sometimes. But, again, we make this point that Harrogate have got a massive advantage in this game at the stage of the season they're at. It cannot be understated.
3.5 minutes have been played of stoppage time at the end of this game. 7 minutes in total to be played as Rawlinson clears it long up towards the halfway line. Jake Reeves picks it up in the middle of the Notts half and surveys his options, goes long trying to find Elisha Sam and puts it about 15 yards away from him. Ball cleared away, and the referee's going to play an advantage after Michael Doyle was judged to have handled it as he attempted to control it in the middle of the pitch. Harrogate have it though, played it out onto the left hand side. It's with Brendan Kiernan, who holds the play up. He's got Dion Kelly-Evans on his back, monitoring him closely. I'll go all the way back to Connor Hall, scored for Harrogate at Wembley a few weeks back. And Kiernan out towards Beck on the left-hand side, who will try to weave between a couple of players. And a man of that size doesn't fit between gaps all that well. He has won a throw-in, though. Kiernan will take. You think Beck will be the target? He is. Absolutely dwarfs Dion Kelly-Evans. He's probably a foot taller, and I dare say several stones heavier, but Notts do manage to clear it away down that right-hand side as Rawlinson is nudged by John Stead. We've seen a few of them over the years, and rarely does he get away with them. He wasn't going to on that occasion. Notts have a free kick that they take quickly and try to smuggle themselves away down the left-hand side. Chickson tried to find Elisha Sam. Sam had already gone and instead found a Harrogate player. Ball down the right-hand side from Thompson, looking in the direction of Stead. Rawlinson comes across and nips it away from him. And the Magpies are back in possession once more, but they're running out of time. 5 minutes gone in the 7 minutes of additional time added on. It looks as though Harrogate are going to be heading to a Wembley final in the FA Trophy. The first time that a Football League side will have played there, that's for sure, as they nick possession away once more. And it's with Kirby breaking through the Notts lines. Out onto the left wing he goes with Kiernan, who will just look to waste a few seconds and win a throw-in, which he has done so. Concord Rangers are awaiting the winners. Of course, the Wembley final was supposed to be played on the 27th of this month. It has been postponed indefinitely, so who knows when that final will be. But as I say, it looks as though, with a minute of stoppage time remaining, it'll be Harrogate of League Two against Concord Rangers of the non-league. You would probably back Harrogate to pick up a second win at Wembley in quick succession there. Goal kick, less than a minute remaining.
Yeah, it's now or never. Sam Slocum's got to get the ball forward. Gives it Michael Doyle, and I say Notts haven't got too much time to try and play the way through. I think the ball's got to go. Got to go long.
It's back with Slocum once more. Out towards Rawlinson to Dion Kelly-Evans. And now with Michael Doyle, who plays it long, up over the top, headed away once more. Stead on the ball. Nips it away from Doyle. 15 seconds remaining. All eyes will turn to the referee as the ball is floated down the left-hand side. Dion Kelly-Evans will win the foot race and go down and win a free kick. Kiernan just nips it away. Delays the taking of it, but that will be full time as Neil Ardley comes across, shakes the hand of Simon Weaver, who for the second time in as many games has gotten the better of Notts County. Harrogate win by 1-0, and they will be going to Wembley. When? We don't know. The immediate concern at the moment, I think, for Notts County will be whether or not they have a league to play in around 10 days' time or so. With that win at Wembley a few weeks ago, Harrogate won so much more than just the day at Wembley, just so much more than promotion. They won a safety net that the EFL has given them, and it's a safety net that Notts so richly wish that they had at this moment, because whilst it's disappointing this evening that Notts have lost in the FA Trophy semi-finals against Harrogate, having given so much earlier on in the year in this competition, the greater concern at this moment is what of football at the non-league and the National League level in the coming days, weeks and months. Mark Stallard.
Yeah, and I think the final whistle there shows exactly in a nutshell why football at this level particularly but at all levels needs the fans back, because Harrogate there have just won away from home, get themselves to Wembley, a chance to win a trophy, and the players, there's muted celebrations. It's just like, you know, they've finished a training exercise. There's nothing there, no noise, no celebrations, and